Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So in today's video, I thought we would take a look at a recent photo shoot where I took two different modifiers, seemingly combined them into one to try and get the best of both worlds. And we'll take a look at some of the results in today's video. All right, so let's talk about this photo shoot I had. This was with the South Carolina beach volleyball team, and because it's the month of January, as in years past, we had to do the photo shoot here in the studio. It's just kind of, it doesn't make sense, but this is when the time of year when we need to do these photos for them. And it's January, it's super cold. A lot of times it's raining, and we have to take photos or create photos to represent a outdoor sport played on a beach, usually in a lot of sun and in warm temperatures. So that's kind of, I say that jokingly, but I've got to kind of formulate the lighting going into these photo shoots to kind of represent the sport itself. And so with a outdoor sport with these female athletes played on a beach, I'm thinking about a lot of light. And in reality, they're playing in a harsh, direct sunlight, but I don't want to recreate that in studio. I want to kind of give more of a, or use more of a softer light, but I also want to, retain some of that punch that you would see outdoors when these athletes are playing, doing their sport. So what I came up with this year is a setup where I could use a little bit of the best of both worlds creating the best of both worlds by using two different modifiers with two different strobes to create kind of one light source. And the first, I guess my main key light would have been using this Rapid Box, the Octa S, and this is basically a 24-inch beauty dish. And this is going to give you, really nice light, especially probably from, waist up, that type of thing. But I need to photograph these girls full body for some of these images, and I don't want to rely completely on this modifier. So what I'm going to need is another light source to kind of fill in the rest. And that's where I combine it with this 7-foot umbrella, which I added some diffusion on the front to soften it a little bit, although this larger source is going to be somewhat soft from the onset. But to create the light for this photo shoot, I combine these two by placing this beauty dish right in front of the umbrella, and it gave me this big light source with more control by using this beauty dish right kind of on top of, you can see it here on my other camera, kind of to the top part where I could focus it more on the face of the players and then use the rest of the light to illuminate the rest of them, since, like I said, I'm going to have to deliver full body images for a lot of the work that they use. So at first glance, it might look a little odd to have two boxes kind of stacked on one another, but like I said, I wanted to have the ability to adjust the contrast on my players' faces and at the same time give a nice soft light to enwrap them and completely illuminate them to kind of give that really kind of bright sun type of feel overall in these images. And we'll take a look at the behind the scenes with the full lighting setup so you can see how I complemented this light kind of setup, this light bank, two light bank, along with a big fill to create everything that was on the front side. And then I brought a couple more lights in the back to kind of give them a couple of edges to kind of round out this athletic style lighting. So let's jump into the computer. We'll walk through the full behind the scenes lighting setup, and then we will take a look at some of the results that I achieved by using this kind of rig here. All right, so here we go. This is kind of the overview of the lighting setup that I was just kind of discussing here on set, as awkward as it is to hold this thing next to this big umbrella. But you can see this is kind of from my viewpoint. I've got my 7-foot umbrella with that diffusion on the front, which is going to just give it that extra layer of softness. Then you can see this Octa S right here, kind kind of stationed right in front of this light to the top edge of the umbrella, so I can direct it on my subject's face. Opposite of my subject, these athletes, I've got this big bounce here, basically a big V-flat bounce. So this is going to take the light from these two guys, which is going to bounce off of it and fill in the shadows on my subject. So let's just kind of walk forward. You can kind of see, you can see how I have these stacked. Right there, like I said, this is going to be, and with the boom, I can adjust that up and down based off of the height of my player in front of the camera. And there we are. That kind of shows you somewhat from the angle of my subject. And you can just see, I mean, just basically I just kind of wheel it in front and I still have room to move it up and down. The big bounce, this is like an 8-foot V-flat that I put together just using some foam core. For the edge lights or rim lights, I use two FJ200s in the back. And these aren't necessary, I guess, at the end of the day. I just like to, you know, when thinking about outdoors, beach volleyball and stuff, you know, I want to put some light on these athletes, and I always, or I don't always, but I just kind of feel too, in an athletic arena, usually you have lights that are directed downward from positions like this, or in this case, it could potentially replicate, you know, sunlight behind the subjects, and we're using the larger lights here as a kind of soft fill. But I've got one on either side, giving that edge to them. Also for the white cyc wall, once again, I'm using these Einsteins. I got 4 Einsteins that I'm gonna ride until those guys die, and I use them to light up my wall. But if you are in a setup where you don't need to light the backdrop, this is an easy, or you don't need necessarily those edge lights. This is an easy 2-light and a bounce, 2-light and a bounce kind of setup here. So, you know, it's something you can easily do. You can also, I mean, you can have a different light here. Like if you've got one big strobe, you can put it in here. And then if you have like a speed light, and put it in a box right here. So this is a way to get the most out of a couple of lights. And then also another kind of aside, when I'm working with these teams, the teammates, and this is where I'm going to be positioned right here on this box. And a lot of the teammates like to come over here. They'll see the screen. I do actually project over here onto the other TV, but they'll get behind me and, you know, watch what's going on, and it's fun for them. Sometimes I will use the boom like it is here, and then I will move this fill kind of directly behind me, which kind of gives even, you know, a more of a different type look. But then that blocks, you know, whoever's kind of behind me, and they do watch from the couches over here. But you know, it's just a way where you kind of keep the team together in a certain sense, so they can kind of see what's going on. So that's just another side benefit of using a lighting setup like this. So nothing too complicated, and actually the power of these two lights was identical. I think it was right around 5 on the scale, or 5.2 if I'm being exact. So I was using 5.2 here and 5.2 in here. And this obviously is going to give me a little more punch, a little more contrast, and I can wheel it out to address like any shadowing on the face. If I want to get it a little more contrast, a little more dramatic, I will roll that light out of frame this way. And in this case, I didn't want to quite do that. I wanted to be more of a kind of a beauty kind of lighting, more of not quite in the center, but a little bit off. But then this is going to take care of filling in a lot of those shadows and kind of rounding out that whole light source to the front of my subject. And in just a second, we'll take a look at the results, and I'll show you just how these two lights together kind of do their thing. So that's basically it. You kind of get to see it from pretty much all angles, and that's where we kind of end up. Now let's jump over, and I will show you the basically straight out of camera results from using this light. All right, so let's go from the behind the scenes to what we got in camera. And first of all, I just want to show what the lighting looked like with just those edge lights, those kind of rims. And you can see it coming across her hair here, and then over here over her shoulder, and it just kind of gives a little bit of a illumination outline of our athlete. And you know, these girls are fit, so those lights complement kind of what we have going on here in front of the camera. But I did want to show that kind of from the onset. And then once again, I've got 4 of those Einsteins illuminating my cyc wall back here in the background. All right, so let's go this and show the next image here is just going to be using the 7-foot umbrella. And you can see we've got nice light. We could probably get away with this and it would be probably perfectly fine until you see the next image. But it's more of a flat kind of lighting, and obviously you could dress this up some in Photoshop, give it a little more contrast, a little more pop. But what I want to do, you know, in this day and age, I'm trying to get it all as close as I can in camera. So when my clients use these images, the retouch is very minimal unless they're doing some styling based off of maybe a theme they have for a particular season. So this is once again just the 7-foot umbrella, you know, with the diffusion. So you've got just basically a large, soft light source here. And so now let's add that beauty dish, and you can see there's a pretty good difference. We can put these side by side. So let me stack these for you. My buddy John Gress would be proud of me. He told me last time I did this I need to put the images side by side. So you can see what we have going on here. Much more, you know, and this might be under a little bit, so I could probably adjust in camera, bring up this overall exposure. But then you see when I bring in the beauty dish, there's the big difference that we have with this image. And you see right here I've got more lighting going on. There's some good fall off on her face here, nothing too dramatic. If I wanted more drama in these images, I could roll that boom out, you know, this direction, and then that would give a little more fall off on this side of the face. And I talk about that in one of my earlier videos, if you look back on the channel, of how easy it is to kind of control the drama in images just by moving your main or your key light. So right here it's doing everything I need it to do, giving some nice illumination, you know, from probably waist up, and then that, and it's falling off some down here too, but then it's combining itself with that umbrella, the large 7-foot umbrella, and giving us a nice full body exposure. And then with those edge lights, you see we're kicking some highlights on her arms and hair and stuff like that. So it's just a great way I've found to get, like I said, the best of both worlds and have the ultimate control for your lighting setup for these types of lights, where you don't end up with the flat kind of look. You do get that contrast. Here's another full body shot. And you can see just how nice that lighting is on her. I think I got a closer one. Yeah, so here's a closer, kind of tighter image here, and the lighting just, it looks fantastic. Another benefit of using a light like this with that bounce, and the bounce too is coming in and filling in these shadows. I didn't do an image without the bounce just because it's so big, and at the end of the day, we're here to create photos, not me make videos of changing up the lighting setup for the sake of a video. But just believe me that there would be more extreme fall off on this side if that 8-foot bounce was not there. And what I was getting ready to say is another benefit, and I know this going into doing some of these team shoots, that especially with the female teams, they love their little group shots. And this lighting setup makes it super easy to accommodate multiple players in front of your camera without having to change a lot of stuff. So it's great for solo images and great for, see, we've got 4 players right here, and you can see the bounce in her glasses. So she's right up against that bounce right there, and the lighting is fantastic. So just a good overall way an easy way to craft some lighting for a team situation like this. And when I look at this, that obviously they're in their volleyball setup, and there's enough light on this image to me to satisfy the visual feel for an outdoor sport like beach volleyball. All right, I feel like this is a pretty quick one here today, but I hope that it's possibly something that you haven't seen before, and maybe something that you might feel like would be worthwhile trying in an upcoming shoot that you might have, where you would like to kind of control the contrast as well as have a large, nice, soft light source for your subjects. So if you feel like this video is worthy, please give it that thumbs up. If you want to see more content just like this in the future, hit that subscribe button down below and the little bell so YouTube will let you know when I'm back on here. In the meantime, you can find me on social media, on Instagram at quantzphoto and ProLight Mods. Y'all, please stay safe and healthy out there, and I will see y'all again soon in the next one.